Welcome! If you're new, I'm Camille. I'm a voice teacher with 30 Day Singer. Today we're talking about strengthening a weak voice. This is a concern for a lot of beginning singers, older singers, and singers who are just maybe out of practice. So, jumping right in. Let me give you just a quick preview of what to expect. So we'll warm up first, we'll connect to our breath, our breathing muscles. We'll talk about a couple things, connecting to your chest voice or your speaking voice. I might use those words interchangeably, chest voice, speaking voice, same idea. We'll talk about training with consonants and why we want to use consonants within our warm-ups. We'll talk about adjusting our articulators, and we'll talk about the importance of using semi-occluded exercises. So, jumping right in, remember that the last 10 to 15 minutes are set aside for Q&A. So if you have questions that don't get answered during the first part of the lesson, towards the end, my lesson plan goes out the window and all questions and answers. Okay, so first up, we want to make sure that we are connected to our breathing muscles. Untrained singers and just non-singers might kind of tend to breathe with a more shallow breath. So if I ask you to take a deep breath, what does that look like? If it looks like this, that's what we would call a shallow breath or a clavicular breath because your clavicle is rising. What we would like to train instead is a low breath. So place your hands on your belly. Get as relaxed as possible. If you want to close your eyes, you can. And focus first on relaxing your belly muscles. Try breathing in and out through your nose and see if those belly muscles are starting to move when you take in air. So you'll notice the chest might rise and fall a little bit, but it's not going to be that kind of breath. So keep on breathing. You can keep breathing through your nose if you want. And the only thing I want you concerned about is, are your belly muscles relaxed and are they moving? So we start there. We'll exhale on a hiss. You can also exhale on a shh, whichever you prefer. Reason we're doing this is to train a slow, controlled stream of air so we don't just use all of our air at once. But we are using our air. So I've had some beginning students ask, should I use air at all? Or, questions along those lines. We have to use air. If we're not using our air, we're not making sound. So we're going to inhale, we're going to exhale on a hiss or a shh. So relaxed belly gets bigger when you inhale, and then when you exhale, you should feel that belly engage in some way. So you might feel it crunching in, you might feel it pushing out a little bit. Either can work. So we're simplifying our lives a little bit. We're not getting too specific. Belly relaxes on the inhale, belly does something, some kind of engagement on the exhale. Okay, so we'll inhale, exhale for 8 counts. Ready? Inhale, low. Exhale, hiss. And relax. Did you have air left over? I know I did. So I took in a deeper breath than I actually needed. This time, see if you can take in just the amount of air that you're going to use for those 8 counts. So it might not be a huge breath. Ready? Inhale, relaxed. Exhale. Cool. Try taking even less air. It is very, very possible to overbreathe, meaning you're taking in way more air than you can actually use. So for each phrase that we sing, we want to think about how much air is this phrase going to take? In the same way that when you're speaking, you just are naturally doing that. You're taking in enough air for that sentence or couple of sentences. Okay, so less air, still this 8 count hiss. Ready? Little breath. Exhale. Good. You might have felt your belly, crunch kind of intensify towards the end. But the principle here is we're controlling our exhale with our belly muscles instead of squeezing at our throat. And it's more important how we use that air than the amount of air we take in. We don't need to fill up with air. We just can't use it. Can't use that much air for most styles of singing. Okay, let's keep this good thing going. We're going to vocalize now on a lip trill. This is my favorite exercise for connecting to our breath and connecting to our breathing muscles, which again, our belly is one of the places we're going to get power by resisting that air really efficiently. So I'm going to start us quite low. If you are a higher voiced singer, this might be too low. But I'll holler when it's time to jump in. So I'm going to start us at G3, or if you're a bass baritone, G2. Again, small but deep inhale. Exhale as you sing on a. If lip trills are not your thing, you can sing on a V or a Z. Or better yet, you can grab a straw and sing through that. But I'm going to keep demonstrating on the lip trill. So again, it's a 1-5-1-5-1 pattern. Think about making that breath last to the end of the phrase. So all the way to the end of that, instead of thinking about those high notes as as important. Okay, here we go. Low, relaxed breath and how much air do you need? It's probably not a lot. Higher voices, you can jump in. We're now at B flat. B flat 3 or B flat 2. Take a breath. Whole thing connecting to our belly. Can you feel it engaging? It's doing something. It's really, really gentle engagement, but it's working. Here you go. Do you feel it? All voice types are still in this. We have not gone too high for even low voice types. So low voices, you're now singing on E flat, B flat, okay? And high voices, we're up the octave. Jumping back in. Lip trill is also so great for bringing your vocal folds together. It's almost impossible to strain your voice singing on a lip trill or singing through a straw. So that's why I like it as well. Keep going. Everyone's still in this. It is not too high for you, I promise. Here you go. Lower voices are down here. Last one. Cool. So on any other day, we would take it back down, but on to the next point. So once we've connected to our belly muscles and we feel that we've got some support to supply that steady stream of air, now we can talk about connecting to our chest voice. So if you just say, hey, or no, like in your speaking voice, that is your chest voice. Some people are like, Do I have a chest voice? Can I sing in chest voice? Yes. There's very, very little difference, at least low in our range, between speaking, hey, no, 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 and singing, no, no, no. It's almost exactly the same muscles involved. So for voice nerds, you have these muscles within the vocal folds themselves, your thyroarytenoid or TA muscles for short. And when you're singing in chest voice or when you're speaking, your TA muscles are mostly responsible for the sound. They're more active than the other muscles. So in order to strengthen your voice, we want to connect to that chest or speaking voice whenever possible. And here's something that I see a lot with beginning singers. We'll be doing a pattern like this. We'll be going da 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 da, and the singer goes into head voice at some point. So let's say they go da 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 da, and then when they come back down, they just stay in head voice. They go da 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 da. Obviously, that's not your strongest sound. So slow down with me, and we'll try a couple of these. So it's a little bit of a wider pattern. The pattern's 1, 3, 5, 8, 5, 3, 1. So it requires you to do a little bit of register switching. And anytime you can be in chest voice, go for it. Be in chest voice. Of course, if you're a singer who tends to shout or strain, let's make sure we're singing on a syllable that you can't get shouty on. So maybe something like a no. I'm going to start with low voices. So tenors, baritones, and basses, you are singing C3 as your starting note. Your notes going up are C, E, G, and then a C on top. And here's your challenge. You can lighten into mix or head voice on the top, but come back to chest voice. Don't stay in head voice. Okay, here you go. Oh, we're singing on no, remember? Here you go. Little bit slower. High voices, I'll tell you when to jump back in. So this is where altos can jump in. No, 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 no. And make sure when you can be in chest voice, you are. Someone in the comments is asking, what does B4 or B5 have to do with singing? So if you go to virtualpiano.net and then click, Key Assist, and then note labels, I believe, then a keyboard will pop up and you'll be able to see these. So B is the pitch letter name, and then the number is the octave number. Since our musical alphabet only has 7 pitches, so those pitches repeat. So this is. Okay, I think we're back. We had a little blip in connection, but back on it. Okay, so we are jumping back in. This is F3 that we're starting on. No, 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 no. And your goal here is to connect to your chest voice or use your speaking voice whenever possible. Here we go. No, 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 no. Low voices, tenors, baritones, basses, you might have to flip into head voice for that high note. Come back to chest voice. Here we are. No, 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 no. You might sound like this. No, 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 no. All right, that's totally fine. No, 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 no. Think speaking voice all the way. No, 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 no. And if you have to flip, come back to speaking voice. no, 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 no. 2 more. No, 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 no. Last one. No, 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 no. Cool. So this whole concept of connecting to your speaking voice, using your speaking voice, is really helpful when you're singing a song as well. So I was working with a student the other day on Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And we were singing Wise Men Say. And the temptation might be to go Wise Men Say and stay in head voice when you can get back into chest voice. Wise men say. And just the act of using your chest voice, even if it's not all the time, will give more strength to the rest of your voice. So if you're in head voice the whole time, it's difficult to activate those chest voice muscles. The Joker's asking, how do I know if I'm a tenor or an alto? Let me get an article that walks through the steps for you. Because I wrote one, so you might as well use it. By the way, I'm not sure if I said this in the article or not, but if your voice is untrained, it might change over time. And you might want to do this on a couple different days. Make sure you try it when your voice is feeling good. So if you're sick, if your voice is tired, that's not a good time to be figuring out what your vocal range is. So just throwing that out there for you. All right, so connecting to your chest voice. If you're having a hard time with that in a song, so let's say you're singing a line and you want to stay connected to your chest voice, you want to go, wise men say, but your voice keeps flipping and goes, wise men say, then use a word that you normally would speak. Something like, hey, hey. So much easier. Then once you've found that, what we'll call placement, hey, 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 then you can find it again on the lyrics. Wise men say. If you fall off the bike, if you wise men and you flip again, that's totally normal. But the concept there is use something that you're used to speaking so you can kind of kick yourself back into speaking or chest voice mode. And that'll apply as well to a chesty mix. Robert is asking, will there be a recording of this posted later? Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much. I'm really glad that you're enjoying these lessons. So you might have to look, if you go to the channel, at least for me, there's a video tab and then a live tab. So the live lesson might not show up with all the other shorter lessons. You might have to look specifically for it live, and then you'll find them on there. But also on the website, 30daysinger.com, we have the live streams also listed there. Super Scion Blue is asking, how can I switch from a low note to a high note while singing? So that is a coordination that your voice has to learn. So let's actually try that right now quickly. I know it's a little bit off topic, but so a relatively low note might be this one. Hey, to this one. Hey. So in order to make that jump, we first have to hear the difference in pitch. And then we have to determine for your voice, what kind of coordination do we need to be in order to sing that high note or that low note. So probably most low notes, you're going to be using that chest or speaking voice. So you can think speaking down for low notes. Hey, whoa, no, hey. For that high note, it might be too high to speak. Hey, hey, if your voice is cracking. So if it feels too high for you to speak, you can go woo, woo. See if you can find it in head voice. Hey, woo. You can also find a balance between the two, a mix. But if you're a beginning singer, I would say you might want to think about it more as, is this more of a chest voice note or is it more of a head voice note for the time being? That can help you to make those big jumps and then eventually over time build the coordination between your chest voice and head voice by going back and forth quite a bit. Okay, awesome. So connect to your chest voice both in warm-ups and your song work. Second tip to strengthen your voice is to train with consonants. It's the hardest thing to do to just sing open vowels, to go ah, and to sing that with strength. It's not a coordination that most beginners have. So consonants, what do? Scientifically, they help your vocal folds. They make it easier for your vocal folds by providing a little bit of support in the form of back pressure. I'm just going to get sciencey for 1 second. Bear with me. You have air that's underneath your vocal folds, right? Air from your lungs to the vocal folds. It's passing through. So you have this air pressure that's built up beneath the vocal folds. Your vocal folds, which are tiny, by the way, have to hold that air back. When you add a consonant, like a or a b or a g, anything like that, you're sending a little bit of air back to the vocal folds. So that's what I mean by back pressure. We're sending a little bit of air so that it balances out. One of my favorite voice teachers, his name's John Henney. I was listening to his podcast the other day, and he gave this example of, you're trying to hold down a helium balloon, and then how much easier that would become if you had some air pushing back down on the helium balloon. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about air and back pressure. The thing to take away from this, especially if you're a beginning singer, is consonants make your life easier. So if you're singing an exercise that's supposed to be oh, and it's sounding really weak, oh, or your voice is cracking, add a consonant at the beginning. Sing no, 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 no. I promise I didn't have to try any harder. That was easy peasy. So let's give it a try. I want you to experience this for yourself. No is great. An M is great. If you need even more support, something like a G or a B is also great. Ga, 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 ba, 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 ba. So let's try it out. Okay? Back to... Let's start here. First, I want you to sing for me on an ah. Just see what it feels like. So we're singing E, G sharp, B, and then coming back down. Ah. And if your voice is feeling kind of weak, ah, and you're not able to get that connection, let's try adding an N sound. Na, 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 na. Let's see if it makes it easier for you. So first try the ah. Now try na. Is it still weak? Try bub. Bub, 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 bub. Even gig. Gig, 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 gig. That's like maximum back pressure, maximum support, is if you put a hard consonant like g or b at the beginning and the end of your syllable. So as you're going through a warm-up, say you're here on YouTube, say you're on the 30-Day Singer site, say you have a private teacher and they've given you a warm-up, if your voice is really struggling to stay connected and to sound strong, add consonants where there used to be just vowels. So let's try this together a little bit. I'll leave it up to you what you want to sing on. Let's say the exercise was ooh. You could sing on new, 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 or goo, 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 goo. Here we go. We're starting on either G3 or G2. We're spanning an octave. So let's see if we can take both of those tips. 1, connecting to your chest voice whenever possible. 2, using a consonant to our advantage. Here we go. Just a couple of these to try it out. Ooh. New, 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 new. I'm just going to switch it up. Goo, 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 goo. New, 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 new. I'm kind of liking the end sound today. Goo, 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 goo. Do you need more support? Add another consonant. Gug, 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 gug. Here we go. Gug, 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 gug. I'm gonna go back to new. New, 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 new. Try bub. Bub, 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 bub. You can physically feel, we'll walk back down, you can feel that support, especially on the gug or bub. You can feel that air pressure build up a little bit before it's released. Okay, we're walking back down. Try something new. So I've been mixing it up. New, bub, gig. But if you find something you like that you feel works for you, remember it, use it. Here we are. New, 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 new. Gug, 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 gug. Bub, 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 bub. Bub, 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 bub. If you've been using 2 consonants, try just dropping the last one. So if you've been using bub, 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 try ba, ba, ba. Here we are. Ba, 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 ba. Last one. Ba, 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 ba. Cool. All right. Now this is going to get fun. We're going to talk about adjusting your articulators. What are your articulators? They are the parts of your vocal tract towards the end that are responsible for articulation. So the ones we're going to talk about are the jaw, the tongue, and the lips. So the jaw, if our jaw is overly closed, essentially what we're doing is we're decreasing the size of our instrument. Compare that to and that bigger sound does not require any more pushing. I've just opened up my instrument or increased the size of my instrument a little bit. So think about it this way. You're an instrument, just like a trumpet or a guitar. I think a woodwind instrument is kind of easier to think about. So a trumpet player buzzes their lips together at their mouthpiece. Our equivalent of that is the vocal folds vibrating together. Everything after that in the trumpet or trombone or tuba, everything after that is just resonance. It's boosting certain frequencies. It's filtering out other frequencies. It's that's what's responsible for a trumpet sounding like a trumpet, or a tuba sounding like a tuba, or your voice sounding like you. So the reason a tuba has such a big sound compared to a trumpet. It's a bigger instrument. Same thing for, a violin compared to a big upright bass or even a cello. So tone, we're not even really talking about today, but just power. We can increase our power by adjusting our articulators and adjusting the size of our instrument. That's what's so cool about singing, is your instrument keeps changing shape and size. So try this with me. Notice what happens to the sound if you sing just on any pitch. Really doesn't matter. I'm just gonna go with C. Start with relatively closed mouth. Or let's sing on and stop when you feel like you've got maximum power, because you might drop and it's like a point of diminishing returns. So you also might find that if you go too far, the sound gets a little too intense, too belty. G has a question. Why does my voice go breathy when I go up in pitch when doing exercises? So G, it might be because you're flipping to head voice. You might be going ah instead of ah, and finding some sort of mix where you're retaining some chest voice as you ascend. So if you're like G and you feel like your voice goes breathy whenever you go high, a really, really effective exercise for you, I'll give you two. One is sliding over an NG. Another is using a really bratty sound like a na, 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 na. That is not a breathy sound. It's not pretty, but it's not breathy. So bratty sounds like that, na, 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 na. We can take it up really high. It's not breathy. Na, as opposed to ah, na, na, na. Those bratty sounds do a really good job of bringing your vocal folds together without you getting shouty. Because that's one mistake that beginners and non-beginners make is when they want to sing louder, they'll just squeeze and push for extra volume. And that's not the way. That's not the way. So try those two things, G. Try sliding on an NG. And then try some bratty exercises and see if that works for you. Okay, so we're finding a good shape with our jaw. Versus You guys would not believe the amount of beginning singers I work with who just don't open their mouths, who are like singing like this. My mama don't like you and she likes everyone. And they're not using their full instrument. My mama don't like you and she likes everyone. If they would just open their mouths. So what I don't want you to do is think, oh, super open mouth is the way it has to be. My mama don't like. No. But as much as you would let your mouth move when you're speaking, you can let it move that much when you're singing. If you say, my mama don't like you, my mama don't like you, that's a good place to start. And then if you need to adjust from there, cool. But at least let your jaw move how it would if you were speaking. Okay. Second articulator to think about is your tongue. So we can bring the tongue forward to access a bit more brightness and presence in our sound. So try this with me. We're going to go from an oo vowel to an e vowel. Same pitch. So we can try it on the C again. Any C. I'm going to go from oo to e. I want you to do the same. And just notice what happens to the sound. You can go back. All that happened was our articulators adjusted and the sound went from way back here to way out here. I'm mentioning the tongue because a lot of singers, I won't say a lot, but some singers, myself included, tend to pull the tongue back. So we're singing, we're going, ah, and we're pulling our tongues back when we could be going, ah, with a relaxed tongue. Woohoo! So the tongue, it is connected to your larynx via your hyoid bone. So it's not directly, they're not fused to one another, but the muscles at the base or the root of your tongue are connected to your larynx via that bone that the larynx is suspended from. So if you're pulling your tongue back, that's also pushing down on your larynx, which is limiting its mobility. Not a good thing. So something to be aware of. If you are afraid that that's you might want to incorporate an NG with your tongue super relaxed. Even you can relax it out of your mouth. And vocalize like that. Notice when your tongue wants to pull back, remind it to relax because it doesn't need to pull back. You don't have to push it out of your mouth, but at least behind the bottom lips, that's a good spot for it. You can also sing, behind the curve said almost an overtone when you did that. Yeah, so you might notice when you move from oo to e, ooh, you can hear that overtone pop out, which is really cool. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the tongue. Okay, so vocalize on an NG. You can also vocalize on an E. E. So much presence versus ooh or oh, even ah, E. Work, what's the phrase? Work smarter, not harder. So vocalizing on an E. And be aware of the tongue pulling back because it probably will want to. Okay, the last articulator to adjust is your lips. So notice what happens again. Focus more on the lips this time when you move from O to A. O. It's subtle, but the sound is going from darker, more covered to more present, brighter, more in your face. So again, if you feel like you're singing and your sound is maybe a little covered, a little dark, you feel like it's kind of back here instead of out here, try experimenting with a mouth shape that's a little bit more, maybe a little bit wider, at least neutral, and then slightly wider if you want the sound to come forward even more. This is how singers belt without just shouting, is they develop a nice solid mix and then they start to bring their mouth a little bit wider. They'll drop their jaw a little bit more. They'll bring their tongue forward. So they'll kind of get this bright, present boost to the sound without having to just shout and hurt themselves. Okay, last thing I want to talk about before Q&A is the importance of semi-occluded exercise for strengthening your voice. what I just said, I'll say it again. We want to work smarter, not harder. We don't want to push for volume artificially. We want to actually strengthen our voice's ability to come together, hold air back. So we talked a little bit about that, back pressure with the consonants. You can train under ideal conditions by using a semi-occluded exercise like singing through a straw. I know I have a straw somewhere, but not within arm's reach. So singing through a straw is excellent, probably the best. I'm a big fan of the lip trill. You can sing on an M, an N, an NG, but I highly recommend you grab a straw and start vocalizing with it. So pretend I have a straw right now. There is a video here that we've done where I talk about how to use the straw. So let me just find that for you instead of playing pretend. Okay, so this video, the title of it is Extend Your Vocal Range, but you'll see I'm talking about the straw from the very beginning. So a couple things that you can do with the straw. First, you can just slide from low to high and back again. You don't even have to play any pitches on the keyboard. You don't need a video to guide you through it. You can just ooh through the straw. You can go kind of a little bit higher, back down, a little bit higher, back down. So ooh, and so on. You can sing a melody through the straw. So whatever song you're working on, you can sing the melody through the straw. I've been using the straw to decrease inflammation because it's really good at taking down swelling of the vocal folds. So if you speak a lot for a living or if you sing a lot, the straw can also help to reduce that swelling. Anyways, make sure please that you're not skipping your semi-occluded exercises. They should be the first kind of sound you make and the last kind of sound you make. So your vocal warm-up, you don't want to jump in going, ma, you want to jump into your warm-up on something really gentle. And then your warm down as well should return to that gentle, semi-closed or singing through the straw. Okay. Trust me on that. It will help. I feel like some singers just think that's a waste of time. But it's lining up your vocal folds. You're training in like the least pressure kind of, not the least pressure because we do have back pressure, but the least vocal effort required. Celine is asking, does it matter what kind of straw and the size? So for beginners starting out, just a regular drinking straw will be perfect. As you progress with the straw and you want even more back pressure, you'd want to go smaller diameter. So there are people who sell straws like the singing straw, the uvu straw, I think. There's plenty of different like straw kits that you can buy with varying sizes, but I'm not trying to sell you anything. Just grab a drinking straw. That's what I've been using. Yeah, if you want more back pressure, you feel like, I think the benefit isn't, like I'm not benefiting as much from this as I want to. What you could do is just get those smaller, those tiny straws that they have sometimes at like a coffee cart. You could get a couple of those and let's say do 2 of the skinny straws or even 3 of the skinny straws and then take them away gradually. But yeah, does not matter the material that the straw is made of, Ateria is asking, I've had trouble going into my falsetto. Any tips for flipping to my falsetto when I'm singing in my head voice? Okay, so falsetto, the way we understand it is, by the way, we're in Q&A time, so thank you for being here. Ask away. Falsetto is just a breathier version of head voice. So if head voice is ooh, falsetto is ooh, ooh, ooh. It's a difference in the strength of your chord compression or chord closure. So if you want that more light falsetto-y sound, I would recommend you start with an H. Hoo, hoo. That way you're actually starting with that airflow, starting with breath, and then your vocal folds are coming together. So see if that works for you. I think who or he, either. Behind the Curve is asking mixing straws. What do you mean? Patrina's asking, how do you strengthen your vibrato? Ooh, Patrina, I could talk about this, but it's a difficult topic. Your vibrato is naturally occurring. So your vibrato becomes more stable as your vocal technique in general becomes more stable. The areas to look out for if you are new to singing or just, even if you're not new to singing, the things that might be lacking in your vocal technique, which then will ripple out to your vibrato, maybe your connection to your breath. So if you feel like you're not singing in a supported way, you're going, ah, that's harder for your vibrato to, ah. So that would be one thing to look at. Semi-occluded exercises, starting with something like a hiss, tss, ah, tss, ah, to get some support underneath you. Okay, so that's one thing, is your connection to your breathing muscles. Second is your chord closure. So if your chords, ah, very difficult to get vibrato going. Oh, yes, behind the curve, yes. You're right, mixing straws, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Patrina, so your chord closure, if your vocal folds aren't coming together, again, semi-occluded exercises. NG, You can feel your vocal folds are coming together much more than ooh, And then third thing, I would say those two are probably the most important. Third thing is amount of resonant space. So you might want to practice that nice strong vibrato on something like an ah or an oh, not something like an e. Of course, you can have vibrato on any vowel, but I find it usually will come out a little bit easier with more space. And then the last thing is just relaxation. Are you squeezing? Are you, do you feel lots of tension somewhere? If you do, that can be inhibiting your vibrato as well. Behind the Curve is asking, can you get higher in head voice than chest voice? Yes. And that's why we need both. That's why we can't just push chest voice and, hope for the best. We have to train our head voice as well. Arteria, how could I hit faster riffs and runs? Is it just a matter of practicing? So, yes, it is, but I would say you could incorporate some exercises. One exercise that I really like is just singing on a single note on something like a he. So let's say you start on a he, and then twice as fast, he, then twice as fast, he. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but that is going to help your agility. So an exercise like that could help you speed up those riffs and runs. I would also say practicing your riffs and runs on something closed. So I was just breaking down Jasmine Sullivan's Insecure riff, the he, and I found it was so much easier if I sing on something like a hum. The N was even better. versus ee. And anyways, I don't know if that was a good explanation, but what I'm trying to say is see if it's easier for you to sing more quickly and smoothly on a hum, an N, an NG, something like that. Yeah. Nathaniel's saying, my voice gets tired very easily and it sounds hoarse after speaking or singing for some time. It's always been like this and I wonder if it's something I can change over time with practice. So, Nathaniel, one thing I want to ask you is, where do you feel your voice is pitched? For me, I want to talk down here. I want my voice to be low and authoritative, and I want to talk down here. But if I talk down here, lower pitch, for a long time, my voice tires out really easily. And that's why I kind of have this like cartoon character Disney voice, and I'm letting my voice go up high sometimes because it's easier on my voice. So we can find kind of an optimal speaking pitch for you. If you pretend like someone's telling you something and you're agreeing with them, you're going, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Notice I wasn't going, uh-huh, uh-huh. I also wasn't going, uh-huh. But I was somewhere in the middle, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in that range, the uh-huh, okay, that's the range that my voice wants to be at when I'm speaking. So I try to let my voice live up in that range, not all the time, but I let it go up there sometimes and then I'll come back down. So that was my first question for you, Nathaniel, is do you feel that you're speaking at a pitch that feels easy for your voice, or do you feel like you're kind of forcing it to be too low or too high? Another thing, especially if you're speaking for a long time, like me right now, speaking for an hour straight. After this, I rest my voice. I rest my voice if I can for a full hour. I don't make sound. I will vocalize through the straw a little bit to take some swelling down, but I'm going to discipline myself to not make noise. And I'm wondering, can you take more vocal breaks in your day or in your practice time? Usually we'll say like 30 minutes of vocal exercise is good per day, but 30 minutes is a long time. So can you be taking breaks within that time? Can you sing, warm up for 10 minutes, take a break, come back after a couple minutes? Can you kind of reset your voice with something like a lip trill or singing through a straw in between more challenging things that you're doing? So the term for this is vocal pacing. You're pacing yourself. You're not just marathoning through until you get exhausted. And then I guess another question I would ask you, is there anything, either speaking or singing, that you do and you feel in the moment that it doesn't feel good? That is something to pay attention to. And so I can't tell you what that is for your voice. For some singers, it's using that like really heavy kind of chest belt sound. That doesn't feel good for them. For other singers, it might be spending a lot of time up in head voice if they're not used to it. And it also might vary from day to day. I know for me, sometimes my voice loves being in head voice, and sometimes for whatever reason, it's just like, not today. So I've learned over time to kind of listen to my voice, to test the waters, but ultimately to kind of respect what my voice is feeling that day. Let me know if any of this is resonating. So just quick recap, we talked about speaking pitch and considering that. We talked about vocal pacing, taking more frequent breaks. And then we talked about feeling in the moment, is there something that you're doing that your voice doesn't like and that it's notifying you via pain in the moment? So please get any more questions in. We've got about 4 minutes left. Ateria, just going back to speeding up those riffs and runs, I think what I would encourage you to do, oh hey, Azelda's asking about this too. So Azelda's saying the faster I go when practicing runs, they start getting muddy. Okay, so let's do kind of easy, sort of basic run. I don't know what key I'm in. Okay, so if we're singing something like a hey, I want to sing higher. Hey. Okay. So if we're singing this run and we can sing it slow, hey, and then we speed up and I'll try to make that muddy sound. Hey. Right? I didn't quite get those notes. Hey. They're sort of bleeding together and I've lost the distinction. Okay, so if you can relate to that, I think every singer on the planet can relate to that. First, I would slow it back down. Hey. And then what I would do is practice with a little bit of distinction between those notes. So, hey. Hey. You could add a little H. Hey. Or no H. Hey. 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 Hopefully, it's easier then to speed up and keep it clean and keep it crisp. I'm trying to think. I think that's my best tip for you right now. So what that does is it's giving your vocal folds a chance to come together on each pitch, each individual pitch. What's happening when your run is getting muddy is your vocal folds are coming together, but then they're just stretching out, or they're coming back together, but they're losing that precision. So what we're doing is we're just getting that precision back. Okay, cool. Nathaniel, you're so welcome. Might be our last question. We'll see. Vista Pascal, any tips for a less hollow sounding voice? Yeah. So if your voice is sounding, maybe, not a lot of connection or brightness, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm going to give the same advice to you that I gave to G before. Vocalize on an NG. That immediately is going to give you a little bit of nasal, kind of bright forward sound, as opposed to So an NG sound is great. Ateria, you're so welcome. And then an E vowel also might be nice for you. E. And bratty sounds. Na 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 na. Nothing hollow about that. Na. Of course, we don't stay at the bratty sound. Na 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 na. We dial it back. Na 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 na. That's probably a good balance. Na 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 na. A little bit warmer. I hope that helps. I hope that's what you meant by hollow sounding voice. But to recap, NG, E, and bratty sounds. Okay. That was a lot of fun. I hope I put your feet to the fire about singing with a straw. I'm going to do that after I break all this stuff down. Thank you guys for being here. Next week, I believe next week is jaw and tongue tension. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Grab a straw because we actually might use it for the jaw-tongue tension one as well, a straw or a pencil. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.